American industrialization was a period between 1850 and 1920 where American inventions, natural resources, and an urban workforce fueled an explosion of U.S. economic dominance.
Throughout this period, American inventions made life easier and hiked the productivity of American workers, while at the same time, farmers and urban workers produced and consumed products in mass amounts. Railroads intricately connected the country and markets from east to west, and American businesses expanded America's role in the world economy.
Inventions helped to change Americans' lives.
Another invention that was hugely important to American industrialization was the Bessemer steel process. The Bessemer steel process allowed steel to be mass-produced, lowering its price and increasing the quantity available to firms.
The use of steam power in oil drilling and the Bessemer steel process were very important because oil and steel would become the two main ingredients of the American economy for the next 100 years. Several inventions instantly improved the quality of life for Americans. Edison's incandescent light bulb harnessed electricity in a light bulb and produced light by running it through a filament. With the incandescent light bulb, electricity is now safer, cheaper, and used everywhere. It led to the inventions of appliances, and electricity allowed cities to expand over vast distances. Factories no longer had to be built near rivers, allowing factories to be built wherever needed.
Let's start with the free market. The free market economy operates on its own through competition and consumer purchasing without government interference. This is a concept known as laissez-faire economics. Here's how it works. Firms produce goods and services that consumers need and want the most. Consumers will buy these products in order to maximize their own utility. But at the same time, firms must produce quality goods to compete for profits and survive in the marketplace. Everyone operates through their own self-interest, and by doing so, meet the needs of society through market interaction.
The age of big business was a period that saw the creation of American mega businesses, labor unions, corporate corruption, and federal regulation of business in America.
This time period in American history defined the idea of American success through self-reliance, a hard work ethic, and individual responsibility. It set up a foundation for which sprang the modern American corporate infrastructure and the urban workforce we have today. Because of this era, big corporations rule industries, and American working families moved to the cities to work for those companies.
Let's take a look at a few of these tycoons of big business. First, we have Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was a penniless Scottish immigrant who made his fortune by starting the Carnegie Steel Company. Carnegie had perfected the idea of vertical integration, where he would buy out and control all his suppliers in order to control all areas of production in order to reduce his costs. The next idea is horizontal consolidation. This technique involves buying out his competitors and absorbing all of their production in order to grow his company. The next businessman, John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller founded the company Standard Oil. Rockefeller ran the Standard Oil as a trust, where he broke his company up into many smaller companies in order to separate the stock. This would help him avoid a hostile takeover so no one could ever dominate his company. Due to his business practices, running a company as a trust is now illegal. Due to his shrewd business practices, Rockefeller controlled 90% of the oil production in America, creating a monopoly. These businessmen credited their success and dominance on the idea of social Darwinism. Social Darwinism is based on survival of the fittest. It's the idea that, fueled by big business, competition in the market leads to natural selection for firms. The best survive and dominate, the worst go bankrupt and die off. In order to work properly, outside influences must keep out, meaning government should stay out of business and allow them to compete with no regulation.
Robber barons was a derogatory term given to big businessmen that harked back to the ruthless feudal lords of the Middle Ages in Europe. By this time in the American economy, so much was controlled by so few, and Americans began to distrust big business. They began to criticize corporate greed and the corruption that corporate money can play in politics.
These robber barons hiked prices, cut wages, and kept the profits for themselves. In an attempt to repair their image, the robber barons donated millions to charity. Fun fact, have you heard of Rockefeller Center, Carnegie Hall, or Vanderbilt University? All of these are named after robber barons who donated money towards their construction in order to help future generations.
The growing number of illegal monopolies and trusts and public outrage over corporate corruption led to tighter government regulation of big business. The main instrument of that regulation was the Sherman Antitrust Act. This law declared that all trusts were illegal in the marketplace. However, it was nearly impossible to enforce. Why does this matter? It wasn't until the Gilded Age that Americans revered big businessmen as heroes. The era of big business also created the socio-economic hierarchy of today, with the different classes according to income. The corporate infrastructure developed during the Gilded Age led to a century of American economic dominance. It paved the way for the economic success of the 20th century.